Okay, this one is a little bit special.
I'm in danger!
Hello, my fellow wielders of the weave. Today I want to present to you a build that's my take on a classic that results in the highest both single turn Nova damage that you can, in all honesty, do with spells in this game, and the consistent turn-over-turn AoE blasting of this setup is utterly bonkers. Yeah, you can cast Chain Lightning, 6th level, evocation, every single turn, on top of spamming Lightning Bolts, spamming Call Thunder, spamming upcasted Chromatic Orbs, all for maxed out damage, crits, and just generally, I feel bad for anyone who tries to fight you while you are become literally God of Thunder. And to really stress it, I am alone on Tactician against 3 Steel Watchers and a handful of guards, and I am utterly obliterating this fight. Yes, I've pre-hasted, yes, I've pre-dropped water, of course I have. You should always do both those things whenever you can. I mean, the haste in every build that has it, and the water specifically here, but even so, that is not an easy fight by any means, but, you know, it is an easy fight now. It's so good, and it's actually turned out to be one of the most cinematically satisfying encounters I've had in the game so far. I am in love with this build, its survivability, because you can wear heavy armor, you've got a fantastic utility from loads of powerful concentration options, you have damage like you wouldn't believe in so many different configurations from single target to AoE, you can do over 400 damage to one target in a turn with this. If we're talking maximum AoE potential, I mean, you're looking over 1,000. It's something beautiful to behold, and I welcome you then to my Sorcerer, Wizard, Cleric, Multiclass Ultimate Blaster. Warning, this will make your game a little bit too easy. So let's go over how we set this up, level to level, any gear that particularly helps, as I imagine you're quite interested in my glowing lightning staff shield setup, and any tips and tricks on how to actually play it, and so on and so forth. So let's talk to our favourite undead in the form of withers, and get to building this absurdity. We want to begin as a sorcerer for those sweet con saves, and because we'll be getting heavy armor anyway from the cleric subclass, so there's really no reason not to. Cantrips, throughout all of this, just choose the ones that you think are best going to give you a advantage throughout your playtime. I like having friends for the conversations check and such. Shocking Grasp is of course thematic, but as I said, do whatever you think works here. I think always grabbing shield is very useful, the extra AC can come in very handy, and you want Chromatic Orb at your earliest convenience as your highest damage single target lightning, well, slash thunder, but that still works for our purposes, spell, and the only thing that we have that can crit with Luck of the Far Realms. And yes, Storm Sorcery is the play, Tempestuous Magic, giving you an extra little no opportunity attack fly reposition is so useful. Your ability loadouts should look like this then. We can tank dex because we'll be in heavy armor. I like to leave strength at least at 10 so we can jump a little bit just for traversal, but mainly you want your constitution at 15 with the +1 and your charisma at 17 with the +2. Our 2 feats will see charisma go to 20 and con go to 16, so this works out nicely, and then intelligence is the one I've gone for, but honestly you could go to 14 in any of the 4 remaining. So, over to level 2 and beyond as we start getting to our final form. At this point, you do want to switch over to Cleric, and cantrip-wise, I would definitely make sure you get resistance. It can come in handy occasionally. Guidance is obviously MVP in so many situations, and then I like this just for the occasional check, but again, cantrips, whatever you feel like. Tempest domain is the domain of choice, and this gives us heavy armor, which is why we don't need to start as cleric, so we can have our cake and eat it too when it comes to sorcerer and cleric. I like to go for Mystra, because, you know, it's thematic, and for your cleric spell at this point, I would grab Bless, especially if you are early a game before you get haste. This is just a really nice thing to be using your concentration on. We don't need to worry about create or destroy water, which we do need and is key to the build, because Storm Sorcerer just gets given that for free anyway. Then we want to level up our cleric one more time to get to the other key factor in this Exodia-esque setup, and that's Destructive Wrath, the ability to force lightning or thunder damage to maximum roll, which is obviously nutty. That's what we use our one divine charge on here, and then we move on. I like to also have Healing Word just for the bonus action, revive an ally at range. It's nice, but you can also go for Command 2, and any spell that I don't say is required for the build, really just choose what calls to you. Now, we don't want any more cleric levels, so at this point we are going to get our single wizard level. Why do we want to do this? Well, to heavily abuse the fact that this lets us learn every wizard spell on top of all the sorcerer spells that we will have access to. It adds a boatload of utility, and while wizard spells, yes, use int, which we don't have a lot of, we can grab stuff where that doesn't matter. Like, for example, the level 5 spell Summon Elemental, which is really powerful, just an extra strong dude in your fights. But how exactly does that work? Well, if you go wizard and you're level 1 and you try and learn spells from scrolls, you can't learn most of them because you're not a high enough level wizard to learn the spells. But the catch here is any spell that you've already learnt, if you have the spell slot to cast it, you can cast it as a level 1 wizard. So, in a practical example here, respec your character to wizard, go to like level 10, open up your spellbook, open up your scrolls, learn Summon Elemental. Okay, we can now cast it, it's in our book, that is done. This will stay even if you are no longer a wizard. So we respec again, go full sorcerer, except for one level of wizard, so now we're like 9 and 1. And yeah, we can still cast that Summon Elemental using a 5th slot, thanks to just that one wizard level. Which, as you can see, is really kind of broken, and I have a feeling at some point this might get fixed, but for now, in the realm of do we go 2 Tempest Cleric, 10 Sorcerer, or 2 Tempest Cleric, 9 Sorcerer, 1 Wizard, that 1-9 split gives us a greater strength of build and a greater range of utility without actually losing anything, thanks to a particular weapon we'll be using, as the loss of 6 level spells, which we already lose from the Cleric levels, don't actually matter. If this ever does get fixed, we'll then just do a pure 2-10 split and drop the Wizard. Anyway, I hope that all made sense. Grab the cantrips that you want, as we again just keep getting offered so many cantrips, and spell-wise, again, do whatever you feel like. I do like to get the series of sort of utility spells, again, things that don't require actually int to cast, tends to be pretty good from here, and that will give you a good use of the wizard side of things. Now we've got all of our extras and our core pretty much sorted. The rest of the way here is just pure sorcerer, just onwards and upwards as we grow in power. Twinned and then either extended or distant is the way to go. Twinned so we can double up our chromatic orb, double up our haste. You know how good that is. Then we move on to total level 6, sorcerer level 3, and get access to even more of a bump as we now get quicken spell. This is really important, not just because it's awesome, I mean a bonus action full cast is evidently amazing, but it lets us set up and explode off in one turn instead of 2. We'll get to that a little bit later on though. And then we get our first feat. For this, you want to get your constitution up and your charisma up, make the most use of those 2 ability improvements, and that's all there is to it. We don't need really anything else that there is here. This will make you a lot tankier and will make your spellcasting a lot more effective. we continue on the Sorcerer train, and now that we get to level 3, we can grab ourselves a Lightning Bolt. And you want this if you are earlier in the game, but you don't technically need this once you get to Act 3 for a reason that we will go into. So I will grab the ever faithful Haste, as you always want access to Haste whenever you can get it, and then I'll also add in Counterspell, as it's just a very potent bit of utility. Then we get to total level 9, Sorcerer level 6, we get the next part of Storm Sorcery, and most importantly, all of these spells. The two that really matter are Call Lightning, which if you're not concentrating on Haste or Bless, is the best use of your concentration, just constant massive AoE damage, especially when we upcast, and then Create Water to essentially double our damage output, and yes, Heart of the Storm to do a little bit of blast around you when you cast these spells is always nice, and hey, you can stand in your own AoE to hit enemies and not worry about it too much too. Over at level 10, Sorcerer level 7, nothing really too crazy happens, but we do get access to our level 4 spells. Again, at this point, we can just go full utility because all our damage spells are basically spoken for, and I like Dimension Door. Then we start heading to level 11, Sorcerer level 8, almost there. We get our next feat, which we will use on more ability improvement to finally max out our charisma for the maximum amount of spellage bonus we can get our hands on, and this will become doubly useful too when we get to the items. And then your next spell. I do actually like Wall of Fire, despite it not being a Thunder or Lightning spell, just because it's got quite a bit of good utility on it, but again, choose whatever pleases you. Then we reach our final max level of 12, Sorcerer level 9, and here we are. We get our 5th level spells to choose from, and really, Cone of Cold is quite nice if we aren't going to be using some of our Thunder for a round, but it doesn't come up too often. Again, really take any of them. And that is that. We are set up and ready to go. Sorcerer 9, Cleric 2, and Wizard 1. So here we are then, set up on our Storm Lightning God-esque build. Before I go into how to play it and the key spells and little tips and tricks, I want to first skip ahead to one bit of gear. This beautiful staff, Marco Heshkia. What this will do, outside of, just increase your spell saves and attack rolls, which is lovely, and, give you a free cast of a spell with Arcane Battery, is Koreska's Favor. This makes all the difference to this build. This is what is making me glow with lightning, and it is potent. See, what this does is once per short rest, you can choose one of these. So what are these options then? Well, you choose a damage type, and you then gain resistance to that damage type, and you do extra damage equal to your proficiency modifier when you cast that type of spell. So we, of course, want lightning, so we do extra lightning damage, and then we also get an extra little bonus. See, every one of these that you choose gives you access to another couple of spells. This is where this really kicks off. In this lightning mode that we are now, crackling with Koreska's Lightning, we gain access to Lightning Bolt, which, is fine. We also have our own Lightning Bolt, but that's why you don't need to take our own Lightning Bolt. But most importantly, Chain Lightning, the level 6 spell, which is why it doesn't matter that we don't reach level 6 ourselves, because we still get access to Chain Lightning. And the thing is, while it says you can only cast this once per short rest, it's currently not working quite as intended, and instead you can cast this every single turn, and sometimes twice a turn if you're hasted. So you can see why that is utterly bonkers. This staff really brings this together and is the ultimate cherry on top. It's just so good to just be constantly blasting off at Chain Lightning. It really, really is. So if I actually go into turn-based mode then, and then end my turn, so the environment has its round to do whatever the environment does when it takes one of its rare turns, and look, Chain Lightning is back once again to cast. Silly. So if you want to know where to get hold of this staff, we have a video up on the channel going through it and explaining it, and, well, head over there, I'll link it down below, and that's all well and good. So, now we get actually to it. You want to start things off, of course, by always being hasted. This just applies to everyone that has access to haste. 2 actions are always better than 1. Then, past that, create water. This gets really, really good really quickly. So what this will do is make enemies wet. Every upcast increases the radius. So if I cast at 4, we have this massive radius of water, and I will cast it. It doesn't make people angry. So if you know a fight's about to happen, I mean, pre-soak your enemies, you know what I'm saying? So we have this wet debuff, and what this does is vulnerable to lightning and cold damage, i.e. they will take double lightning damage. Yeah, so double damage from you. So if we cast this orb at Thunder, this is our best single target damage, we upcast it to level 6, it now can do 8 to 64. So if we cast it at level 6, like so, and then we also use in our reaction Destructive Wrath, what this will do is force it to be 64. Then it's doubled thanks to the target being wet, which is 128. And then, if we force it to crit with Luck of the Far Realms, the Illithid power, that is now 256 damage. The 128 doubled. Double the dice, double the death. Which, yeah, will obliterate most things. The fact that you can then quicken spell to cast a second spell as a bonus action and do now a level 5 Chromatic Orb, you can potentially do another 112 damage, and everything just really compounds. The floor gets electrified, people take more damage from that, and so on and so forth. So yeah, Chromatic Orb, upcasted as high as possible, is your single target damage. Then, for AoE, well, we just want to hit Chain Lightning after Chain Lightning after Chain Lightning, if you at all can, but a good old Lightning Bolt, upcasted to 6-2, is really meaty, just depends on the shape and spreadness out of the enemies. If you can get full bounces in, do it. If not, do your Lightning Bolt in a straight line, and if haste has been abandoned, well then we can call Lightning 2, upcast that, and if you get a group of enemies with this, well that's 60 damage per with Destructive Wrath, doubled with being wet, and you do 120 damage per enemy. Lightning Bolt can do like 144 or something per enemy, and obviously with Chain Lightning, you can end up with 160 per enemy that it bounces to, with 4 max targets. So all of that kind of comes together, and you see where we're at. Just choose the right lightning spell for the situation, max it with Destructive Wrath at the right time, and ultimately choose your crit at the right time with Chromatic Orb as well, though you do not need to get your Luck of the Far Realms if you don't like Illithid powers, or if you're role-playing to not use them, like I am on my actual personal playthrough. It's just fine. This isn't a quit requirement build, because most of our effective spells don't function with that. So get hasted, wet your enemies, and then electrocute them to death with contemptuous ease. And every time we do cast a spell, we get access to this, Tempestuous Magic Flight, which is an incredibly effective repositioning tool that just lets you zip to wherever you want, completely free, and then just keep going. So yeah, there really isn't anything more to it than that. So when it comes to any other bits of gear that really work with this, you have the Spellcrux Amulet from the Warden in Moonrise Tower, just to give you a spell slot back as a bonus action. That's obviously really, really good. The best heavy armor you can spare for your character, as I have here, got the Adamantine on, though Ketherix is fine too. And talking of Ketherix then, his shield is excellent for this, for the extra +1 bonus to spell save and attack rolls. That works out really well. The way to really maximize this is any other gear that helps with your initiative, or going earlier in the turn order, order, so you can set up and start blasting, begin the fight with a quickened create water, so that's your bonus action, and then use your actual action on a lightning spell to really get things started if you're not expecting the combat and can't pre-cast anything, so that's all well and good. Or indeed, just quicken haste yourself, and then your first action is create water, your second action is the lightning spell, and then you've done everything at once in your first turn, and that's very nice too. So, really, there's not much else to it. That's how we set up, that's the gear that's good, and that's how it's played. Just big lightning damage all of the time, every turn, against every enemy on screen, and it will melt completely. For now then, like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.